I have been in policing for almost 30 years. The events I witnessed on January 6th was the worst attack on law enforcement and our democracy that I've seen in my entire career. I witnessed insurgents beating police officers with fists, pipes, sticks, bats, metal barricades, and flagpoles. These criminals came prepared for war. They came with their own radio system to coordinate the attack and climbing gear and other equipment to defeat the Capitol's security features. I am sickened by what I witnessed that day. Our officers fought valiantly, using batons, shields, chemical munitions, and pepper ball guns to hold back the attackers. Capitol Police and responding law enforcement agencies showed tremendous restraint by not using their firearms, which would have likely led to a more chaotic situation and a possible mass casualty incident. No civilian law enforcement agency, to include the United States Capitol Police, is trained or equipped to repel an insurrection of thousands of individuals focused on breaching a building at all costs. I am extremely proud and appreciative of the Capitol Police officers, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the other law enforcement agencies that came to our assistance. A clear lack of accurate and complete intelligence across several federal agencies contributed to this event, and not poor planning by the United States Capitol Police.
I don't know about that. Hello, everybody. Hello. We had our first hearing on the insurrection, and we need to get to the bottom of what happened. Actually, we need to get to the top of what happened. The bottom would be the psychos that are beating police officers with Blue Lives Matter flags. The top is people like Donald Trump, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, who are cheering all that on. This was very disconcerting. This was a very weird hearing, in that what we know is that 3 days before that, by the way, is the former Capitol Police Chief Sund, Mr. Sund. And what we know is that 3 days before the thousands of rioters converged on the U.S. Capitol, there was an internal Capitol Police intelligence report that was generated by Mr. Sund's Capitol Police Intelligence Unit. That was barely brought up. What they did bring up, though, was the January 5th Joint Terrorism Task Force report the night before that warned that there were people coming to commit violence and declare war on the Capitol. I mean, this was a very strange hearing. You know, I don't know, just the prosecutor in me, I don't know who that would be, but just the inclination to want to know the answers, the curiosity, I would guess, makes me want to see everybody's emails. It makes me want to have everybody's phone records. Do you know what I'm saying? This was a very bizarre hearing. There was like no conclusion at all. It was just, you know, like playing hot potato. You ever play hot potato? You know, like when this is before video games, everybody, before. We used to play games with vegetables. We used to walk uphill one way every day in the snow to school. And we would have to play games with vegetables, like passing hot potatoes to see who could do it and not get burned. No, I'm serious. This was just really weird. So we had testimony today that the former Capitol Police Chief, Mr. Sund, totally neglected to tell us that there was 3 days before, on January 3rd, a 12-page report generated by his own Capitol Police Intelligence Unit. And what it said was, quote, supporters of the current president, that would be the lunatic fringe, see January 6, 2021 as the last opportunity to overturn the results of the presidential election. This sense of desperation and disappointment may lead to more of an incentive to become violent. Unlike previous post-election protests, the targets of the pro-Trump supporters are not necessarily the counter-protesters as they were previously, meaning Antifa, but rather Congress itself is the target on the 6th. Everybody's hair is on fire, lights are flashing red, everybody's running around. Congress are their targets, Congress members are their target. No. Barely mentioned at this hearing today. It's an internal report, and it doesn't appear to have been shared very widely, okay? The only thing that they did talk about today was the February 5th, the day before. You remember the Norfolk, Virginia office put out some sort of an explicit warning saying that there was going to be violence and that the threat was to commit war. Yeah, I mean, these were the words. And that was sent by email, apparently. And nobody bothered to open their email, or what? It went to their spam folder? What are we talking over here? What are we saying? It's like on the eve of the attack, after the Capitol Police had written a 12-page report saying that these people were targeting members of Congress for the next insurgency, for the next protest. They knew the date, they knew the time, they knew the place, they knew the target, but they didn't really talk about that today. They talked about the night before one, where they also used the word war, but it was sent by email. It was sent by email, and no one opened the email. This is very sick. And then they talked about what was the holdup in the National Guard. Now, yesterday I gave you a timeline. I tried to explain it to you. I said at 1:09, this all started. At 1:09, there were phone calls. At 1:09, everybody understood. 1:09. Wapner. Do you know what I mean? And Roy Blunt today said, well, what was the problem with deploying the National Guard? Turns out that some people, like Mr. Sund and Mr. Irving, don't agree on what time the National Guard were called.
You said in your testimony that when asked for National Guard assistance, you approved it. Mr. Sund stated that he asked for the National Guard assistance at 1:09, and you approved. It was approved at 2:10. Why would it take an hour to approve National Guard assistance on your part in that moment of crisis? Mr. Irving.
Senator, from my recollection, I did not receive a request for approval for National Guard until shortly after 2 p.m. when I was in Michael Stanger's office.
Let me get that straightened out. Mr. Sund, do you know when you asked for National Guard assistance? Was it 1:09 or was it 2 p.m.?
It was 1:09, sir.
1:09. And who did you ask for assistance at 1:09?
It was from Mr. Irving. I believe he was in the company of Mr. Stinger at the time as well.
So this is the former Capitol Police Chief saying that he told the House Sergeant at Arms at 1:09 that he needed National Guard. The House Sergeant at Arms doesn't recall that. Doesn't recall. So Blunt says to the Capitol Police Chief, Sund, when was it? 1:09. And why, Mr. Irving, Sergeant at Arms, don't you remember? I don't know. Mr. Sund, when you spoke to the House Sergeant at Arms, do you remember like who he was with? Yeah, he was with the Sergeant at Arms from the Senate. Somebody is not telling the truth. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Somebody was not telling the truth. And the idea that they never really discussed anything except an email warning, like the FBI emailed it in, this is what their testimony was today. Oh, the FBI emailed a Joint Terrorism Task Force warning that said that these insurgents were going to commit acts of war on the Capitol the night before. And apparently it went to spam. Listen, next time you send an email like that, put like free Amazon Prime offer in the subject line. So they open the damn thing. Oh, something is wrong here, and I don't know what it is. But I will tell you this is just the first round to get people on the record under oath telling what they knew and when they knew it and what they think happened. Okay. There is something so ugly going on here. I can't even explain it. I will tell you that it seems like in our government, the only people who take threats from white supremacists seriously are non-whites. Yeah. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.